Devil achieved sole victory. In the ground level was a crash in the opening corner. Three-way fight now along the pit straight. Wonderful stuff going on. Martin becoming this season's Brno Clio Cup champion. So is Tomáš Pekář in the Mark 5 class. There's a crash already. Oh, that's a big one right at the start. And now he's absolutely dominated the 2023 Clio Cup, having won absolutely everything.
The sun is shining, the wind is blowing, and we are awaiting yet more racing action here at the Automotodrom Brno 5.4 kilometer racetrack in South Moravia. And we are here on the starting grid for the race number 2 of the Renault Clio Cup Bohemia. It's the final one of 2024 Clios, having both of their races during the Saturday's program. And it is Tomáš Pekář who scored a beautiful victory earlier on today to make himself a near champion. In the end, the points just about like that they would hand him the trophy, but not quite yet. We still are missing a teeny tiny little bit, but of course Tomáš Pekář, with his speed and experience, he is definitely, well, it would have to be a complete disaster for him in this race to actually lose that title. We've got the cars ready on the starting grid with reverse grid order. And that puts Nikodem Sobčík on pole position, alongside him Miha Primožič. So it's 7 positions overall. Miha Primožič in second on the front row. Behind them, Julian Šměchovský and Nick Štefančič, row number 2. Then David Živok and Bartek Mirecký, P5 and P6. The erstwhile race 1 winner, Tomáš Pekář, lines up 7th on the grid. Alongside him, his teammate Filip Živok, one of the other of his teammates. Filip Živok, Simon Sighart in P9 and Oskar Maršalkovský, 9th and 10th. Niko Pulič, Tom Grünfeld, Ivan Gustin, Vladimír Jaklin, Peter Palotas, Walter Nežič, Martin Knápek, Marko and Tomáš Kazarka completing the rest of the starting grid. We've got the Mark IV Clios separated on their respective grid. You can see them towards the top end of your screen. And the pole sitter Nikodem Sobčík right in the center of it right now. Alongside him, Miha Primožič. He had a rocket start to race number 1, but from the back end of the top 10 of the grid, he tried to get as far up ahead as he could, which he did, but then the opening lap wasn't really nice to him, so that means that he dropped a couple of places again. But he is now on the front row of the grid, so he has a clear view ahead of himself, and that means that should he repeat that rocket start that we saw from him in race number 1, he could be easily in the lead of race number 1. But as you know, in motorsport nothing is ever guaranteed, not even the lead of a Max Verstappen in Formula 1's World Championship. Such guarantees simply don't exist, and that means that results of race number 1 and even situations from race number 1 do not mean that same things would happen in race number 2. That's why we are excited, that's why we are looking forward to race number 2 once again, because this is a brand new 25-minute event and a lot can happen once again. The Brno track is again offering great opportunities for overtaking, for fights. And we saw Tomáš Pekař, for example, really trying clever stuff here and there, left and right, front and back, everything that he could. He was choosing crazy lines to get away from the view of Bartek Mirecki in race number 1, and it took him a while, that needs to be said, but then in the end he did manage to tear down that wall that was in front of him, get himself to the front of the pack and score that momentous victory in race number 1. For him, of course, that was a victory number 5 in 2024. He won the opening race at Balaton Park, then he scored both victories in Most, and then the first race in Slovakia also went his way, and now the first race here in Brno just as well. So let's see with what kind of a result can the championship leader and very nearly the series champion close the season with. We are really happy to see so many spectators in the grandstands. So the ESETCup series has again attracted quite some crowd. A lot of people enjoying this beautiful September weekend. The weather is really nice. I mean, it's warm. It's not exactly hot. I check the weather for you. It's actually 27 degrees. So, but it feels warm because of the wind that I mentioned, and also it's a little overcast, which makes it such a pleasant weather. That needs to be said. So you're not really sweating a lot, and this just makes it such a great place to be for this weekend to enjoy motorsport, as it actually usually is around this time of the year in Brno. So this is usually a fitting finale for 2024. It is a finale for Renault Clio Cup Bohemia, of course, not for every championship. For example, the GTs, they do have their final weekend here in Brno, but the TCRs, they go on. Also, the Central European Formula 4 goes on to race in Austria at the Salzburg Ring in a couple of weeks' time. And we are now making our way to the end of the formation lap for race number 2 of the Renault Clio Cup Bohemia, with Sobčík and Primožič lining up alongside each other on the front row of the grid. Mathematically, it was Bartek Mirecki, Nick Stefancic and David Živok as well that could rob Tomáš Pekař of the championship glory. Now it is only Bartek Mirecki, but yeah, Tomáš Pekař would pretty much have to retire from the race or not score, and Bartek Mirecki would have to score that victory. And you'll guess that that's not really very likely to happen, but it's also not unrealistic. So green flag in the air. The red lights are coming on. The red lights are off and we are racing in Brno. 25 minutes of racing action right ahead of us. Nikodem Sobčík immediately in the fight with Miha Primožič into the first corner. Is it again a rocket start from Primožič? It does look like that. Miha Primožič down the inside takes the lead of the race. Nik Stefancic trying to trouble Sobčík as well. So it's already getting exciting. It's been a while since we saw Miha Primožič in the race lead and actually take a victory. Now he is P1. And Julian Śmiechowski also in a fight of his own. Tomáš Pekář, a part of a larger group, together with Bartek Mirecki and another, I would say, grape of drivers. So Niki Sobčík dropping it down to second at the start. Miha Primožič in the lead. Sobčík making a move to retake the top spot. There's a contact entering the stadium section. And Nikodem Sobčík squeezing himself back into the race lead. So the Polish driver back P1. Miha Primožič being pushed down the order to second. There they go. Onto the stadium section with Nik Stefancic sensing a victory opportunity as well. In what might very well be his last race in the Clio Cup. Nik Stefancic now already lining up for a move. There's also David Divok making ground. We have got yellow flags somewhere. Big fight in the Kevin Schwantz corner. Miha Primožič staying ahead of Nik Stefancic, but we have a safety car on the track. What happened? I'm trying to check all the other cameras, whether I spot the problem, but who are we missing currently? We've got a safety car, and it's actually the first safety car of the day, ladies and gentlemen. I would never have believed that we would wait that long for the safety car to come out on track. So hats off to everybody. Across all the championships so far, but what has happened? I'm trying also to check the live timing screen, whether we see the reason for that. This is the safety car, the typical one for Brno here. And it is Sobčík leading from Miha Primožič, Nik Stefancic in third. Then it is Julian Śmiechowski. Sorry, no. Julian Śmiechowski dropped it down to sixth. It's actually David Divok up to fourth from Bartoloměj Mirecki. Julian Śmiechowski in sixth from Tomáš Pekář, who in the end has not really managed to move anywhere from his grid position. He has got Simon Sighart right behind himself, then Oskar Maršalkovský and Niko Pulič. Then we've got Tomáš Kazarka, Filip Divok, Martin Knápek, Walter Nežič, Vladimír Jaklin, Marko Kazarka, Ivan Gustin and Petr Palotas. And the driver that we are missing is Tom Grünfeld. Tom Grünfeld not with us anymore in this race, but I don't see a stranded car anywhere around the track. I'm really trying to look around the whole circuit and use all the cameras that we have got here at the broadcast control, but I do not see the reason for the safety car. I mean, we do not have Tom Grünfeld anymore, so presumably he just left his car somewhere, or maybe crashed, or maybe, well, simply retired. But what was the reason for that? It's a little bit of a mystery for the moment right now. I'm also trying to get some extra information from the local commentators, Martin Straka, Tondakala, that are up there on the tower, so they might have a tiny little better overview. But pretty much only around the start and finish straight, where we do not see any reason. Either way, it's a safety car. It's quite hard to predict for how long right now, of course, since we do not know the exact reason. I'm really trying to look around the track where I possibly can. So it is Sobchik leading from Miha Primožič, as I mentioned. Still looking around. This is rather weird, but the live timing screen says that Tom Grunfeld has not completed the opening lap of the race. But I don't even see him on any of the sectors. And I don't even see him in the pits. Either way, we seem to be heading towards a restart. But not just yet. No. Safety car still has the lights on. So we're not heading towards the restart just yet. Still the reason for the safety car remains on. So Sobchik leading from Primožič and Stefancic. That's the info that we already have. Car number 10 not allowed to continue in the race because it already had an external help. That would have meant that Tom Grunfeld, whom I was speaking about, had some sort of off-track excursion and was probably then helped out, which means that since he already used the external help, he may not continue in the race, and would have to mean that he has to get back to the pits. But I still do not see any sector times whatsoever from Tom Grunfeld. I don't even see any sort of message that he would actually get back into the pits. So where is he? And I don't even see him on any of the cameras around the track. That's really very weird, because we do have a car missing. I mean, really missing. It's probably going to be somewhere away from the shot, behind the barrier, or somewhere where the camera angle can't really see it. But it remains a mystery. I'm really trying to check around all the cameras, as you are seeing as well, whether maybe somewhere right behind the barrier, maybe some track marshals running around trying to help the car and push it back or pull it out of the gravel or whatever. What is good, we haven't seen any sort of crash. But it's really very hard to jump to any sort of conclusions. Okay, but how about the safety car? The field is bunching up right now, with 15.5 minutes left on the clock. So the safety car has its lights off, as you've just seen for yourself, and that means that we are going to restart the race without Tom Grunfeld. What happened to Tom, I do not really know right now. There is no information, so we really hope that Tom is fine and nothing terrible happened to him. And there we go. Safety car returns back to the pits at quite some pace. Brave stuff from them, and we are going to be racing again. Ooh, but this is great restart for Nikodem Sobčík, who managed to find that moment of surprise ahead of Miha Primožič, and look at the gap that he is currently bringing onto the finish line. Ooh, David Živok coming out, a little Živok out of the final corner, and he skipped through the gravel a tiny little bit, loses pace. Miha Primožič under attack from Nick Štefančič. Štefančič coming through down the inside. Živok under pressure from his countryman Bartek Mirecki, and there's a big mistake from Štefančič, who was actually very late on the brakes. It seemed like a good maneuver, but he then found himself going really wide in the first corner, and that allows Miha Primožič back into second place. David Živok immediately attacking Nick Štefančič. It seems that he would take third spot off his hands, but they are currently remaining side by side. Nick Štefančič has the next corner on his hand, so at least the battle will probably stay on, and they are still running alongside each other. But this is now Bartek Mirecki trying to make a move on both of them. Bartek Mirecki down the inside, what a move by the Polish driver, but David Živok not really wanting to let him through, but he has to admit defeat for the moment. That was a great one by Bartek Mirecki. He really went for it. Julian Śmiechowski also trying to get himself into the mix. Tomáš Pekař with a little bit of a gap ahead. He doesn't really need to score any big hauls of points. Right where he is enough and fine for him. I would assume that he would still try to go and want to go through the field, enjoy some action, enjoy some overtakes, and even potentially celebrate the title with a podium finish at least. But now he remains down in 7th. Still, there's an entire half of the race to go, and a little bit more. Now I believe that we've seen a car behind the barrier there in the background. That might very well have been Tom Grünfeld, somewhere around Kevin Schwann's corner. So it seems that Tom Grünfeld is now using the service roads around the track to drive back to the pits, just as we are watching the remainder of the race, with Niki Sobčík yet to score a victory in 2024. Nikodem Sobčík. Entered the weekend as only 8th in the standings with 44 points to his name, compared to 188 that Tomáš Pekař, the championship leader, had managed to amass over the opening 5 rounds, well, first 5 rounds of the season. So Niki Sobčík cutting his teeth in the Clio Cup racing, and is he going to finish the season on a high with a victory? Just as Bartek Mirecki is taking another spot. This is P2 off the hands of Miha Primožič, and Bartek Mirecki is now setting after Nikodem Sobčík. He did drive a good qualifying yesterday, and he put his car on the front row of the grid earlier on, so the pace is there, but he didn't really manage to keep it in race number 1, and ended up further down the field. Now he's going to come under a lot of pressure from Bartek Mirecki, who is very fast indeed, with 11 minutes left on the clock. Sobčík leading by over a second, but Bartek Mirecki is now up into second place. So there's still plenty of time for the Polish driver to make some inroads into the lead of his countryman and try and steal the top spot off his hands. Victory, that's the only thing that Bartek Mirecki can be satisfied with in today's race, but then also hope that Tomáš Pekař does not score, which is the harder part of the task and equation, presumably. And Tomáš Pekař slightly returning back on pace, and he is now all over the back of Julian Śmiechowski. Michał Primožič coming under more pressure from David Živok this time. Car number 21 currently ahead, but for how long is the question. There we go around the final corner with Bartek Merecki already collecting a little bit of damage to his front bumper, but that is just plastic, laminated. .4 seconds between Sobčík and Merecki. And Merecki already set a faster lap time, although on the previous lap he was still fighting for that second. So what a lap that was. And that just tells you that he might very well go even faster. Tomáš Kazarka returning back to the pits with a damage to his front bumper. Problems for the Slovakian driver. There is Sobčík, still enjoying a little bit of a lead, a little bit of a gap in the lead. 8 minutes 40 seconds. So far he's managing a steady pace, which is good for him. However, it's still a long way. There is Tomáš Pekas, putting pressure on Julian Śmiechowski, the Janík Motorsport racing driver. Tomáš Pekas making a move. This is going to end up in tears. That was a contact, and Tomáš Pekas can't keep that one. He helped himself with a overly sharp elbows. That was beyond the rules. Tomáš Pekas knows that full well and lets Julian Śmiechowski back through. He tried to use the moment of surprise. Maybe he hoped that Julian Śmiechowski would not close the door and just leave it wide open for him. However, Julian Śmiechowski did indeed exactly what he needed to do. He stayed on his racing line, he did close the door, he kept his line. It wasn't aggressive from his side, but it was a late move by Tomáš Pekas. So Julian Śmiechowski simply accepted the hit and then controlled the spin beautifully through the right-hander. Yes, Tomáš Pekas did get through, but couldn't really keep that position, so handed it back immediately. And the battle recommences, but the battle for P6, which still in P7, this is enough for Tomáš Pekas for the championship. He's now having a look. Tomáš Pekas so far holding the fastest lap of the race, 2:27.0. The best that the race-leading Niki Sobčík could do was 2:27.4. Bartek Merecki 2:27.1. And on the previous lap, Merecki chopped another 0.3 of a second off the lead of Sobčík, so it's 1.1 across the line. There they are, the race leaders. Sobčík ahead of Merecki. 6.5 minutes left. Well, 6.5 minutes away from home. Primožič still holding on to third from Živok and Štefančič making a move. He was waiting for a little bit behind Živok, and now he is robbing him of the 4th place. Another exciting Clio Cup race. Tomáš Pekas close behind Julian Śmiechowski, trying to line up for a move. Now they are running down the hill into the Kevin Schwantz corner. Tomáš Pekas making a switchback, diving down the inside. This didn't work either. Śmiechowski is doing a great job, really, that needs to be said. Tomáš Pekas really trying to use all the mind tricks on him that he possibly can, but Śmiechowski not bailing. Not crushing under pressure, definitely not. The Yannick Motorsport driver doing a great job, really, and holding Tomáš Pekář behind himself. Now around the final corner we go once again with Miha Primožič still remaining in third. That would still be a podium scoring position. Now a better exit for Tomáš Pekář. Finally Tomáš Pekář lined up better, exiting the final corner, and he is getting ahead of Śmiechowski. How about under braking? Tomáš Pekář completes the move and gets himself up to 6th. Still a rather low-key result for the moment compared to all the victories that he's scored already, but Julian Śmiechowski trying a fight back? Really? Why not? But in the end he remains behind. Bartek Mirecki now only 0.3 of a second behind Sobčík. Primožič is losing ground. He's now let David Divok through. And Nik Štefančič trying the same thing. I would like to see the fight for the victory now, even though this is exciting as well. Mirecki is really close behind Sobčík, or was the last time out. Let's not miss the potentially race-winning move. With 2.5 minutes left on the clock, we still have got 2 laps from home. And Nikodem Sobčík in the lead, albeit only just. They will now appear on the start and finish straight. Let's go back to the race leaders. This is the fight from third further down, where David Divok has taken 2 places. Ooh, and Bartek Mirecki already troubling Nikodem Sobčík for the race lead. Divok third, Primožič fourth, Štefančič fifth, Pekář sixth, and Śmiechowski 7th. But how about the race leaders? We have got Bartek Mirecki all over the back end of that Clio in the hands of Nikodem Sobčík. Let's go back to that shot. Niki Štefančič under pressure from Tomáš Pekář. Pekář tries to come through, but Nik Štefan, there's the fight for the race lead. Bartek Mirecki has already made a move for the race lead. Bartek Mirecki, there he is, he's already through. Bartek Mirecki takes the lead on the penultimate lap of the race. But Sobčík trying to come back around the outside. That is the longer way to go, and that's not going to work for Sobčík. Bartoloměj Mirecki in the race lead. And this actually might even be the final lap of the race. After all, we've only got a minute left. How fast can we get back to the finish line? It's going to be tight, but this might very well be the final lap of the race. That's Divok in third from Primožič. Let's get back to the race leaders. There they were, there they are. Bartek Mirecki, 20 seconds from home. He's still only just about ahead of Nikodem Sobčík, who lost the race lead a couple of kilometers ago. And we are making our way around the final couple of corners. This will be it. This will be it, and this is the final lap of the season. Bartolomiej Mirecki. Fantastic race for the Polish driver. Nikodem Sobčík staying close together. This is going to be a very tight finish, but Bartek Mirecki takes the victory in race number 2 in Brno from Nikodem Sobčík. David Živok comes home in third from Miha Primožič, who stays just off the podium. Julian Śmiechowski P5, Stefancic 6th, and Tomáš Pekař somehow fell back to 7th. But either way, this is a championship victory for Tomáš Pekař in the Renault Clio Cup Bohemia. Simon Sighardt in P8 from Oskar Maršalkovský and Martin Knápek. Behind them, Walter Nežič, Marko Kazarka, Niko Pulič, Filip Živok, Vladimír Jaklin, Ivan Gustin, Petr Palotas and Tomáš Kazarka, with Tom Grünfeld retiring on the opening lap of the race for an unknown reason so far. Bartek Mirecki takes a victory to top the season with. However, that victory is not going to bring him the championship glory. And Bartek Mirecki stays second, albeit a rather close second behind Tomáš Pekař in the end. Bartek Mirecki scored his first victory right during the opening weekend. What is Niki Stefancic doing? He had an off-track excursion across the gravel and now has to use the service road right in front of the barrier. Do not crash the car. Niki Stefancic getting back to the track. That's good to see. And Bartek Mirecki took his first win right during the opening weekend at Balaton Park in race number 2. Then he had a couple of third places and another podium in Most. Then another second place in Slovakia in race number 1. But then finally, second win of the season came in race number 2. And now race number 2 in Brno brings the Polish driver the third win of the season, but not the title. Those were some pretty great fights in the Renault Clio Cup race number 2, and it's the final race of the 2024 season with Bartek Mirecki taking his third victory of the championship from Niki Sobčík and David Živok, Miha Primožič in fourth from Julian Śmiechowski, Nik Stefancic, and the series champion Tomáš Pekař, Simon Sighardt in 8th from Oskar Maršalkovský, and in P10, I beg your pardon, look at the different screen, was Martin Knápek. So those are the graphic results. That's it for the Renault Clio Cup Bohemia in 2024. We still have got action coming our way, and we're now gonna have a little bit of a break, but somewhere right after 4:30 we'll be back with the endurance race that will top off the Saturday's program. And with that, for now, it is a very warm goodbye.